Right.
Welcome, everybody. You already know who it is. It's TA, the Afrosphere, and we have a special video review that we're doing with Yasser Stevens, Elder Conan Hamadishi, and myself, the Astrosphere. Um, let's get going with the video review, guys.
Thank you for having us, Andre. I think that this is one of the things that Elder Cohen Hamadichi wanted to, go through and understand his, how we will see how other people view the Lemba, and we have a Lemba here, so he can speak directly from, represent them in the way that they want to be represented. So this is a very interesting video. It gives a lot of information from standpoint of not, we're never trying to broad brush anybody, but this is a teaching from someone who's from the Jewish background, teaching other Jews about who the Lemba is. And we want to clear up some stuff here today.
Yes.
All right. So just to give a little Henry Abramson, I know he does a lot of videos and a lot of information about various different topics around Jewish culture and background. So we'll play a little bit because here it says Jewish genetics in the Lemba tribe of Africa. So we'll play this and we'll stop it and get some feedback if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah. Do as you please. We're
All
just
right.
free flowing.
Let's go. Elder, would you like to say anything?
No, that's okay.
All right.
That's all right. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Maybe you can just start with a prayer, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think that's great.
Yes.
Dear Yah, we thank you for this day. We thank you for Elder. We thank you for DeAndre setting this up in Afrosphere. We just thank you for what you're doing here on the Shabbat, a day that you set aside for us to have rest and to reflect on you and the creation of this world. We thank you for allowing us to be a people. We ask you to bless all the Shabbats throughout all the globe that's putting you first in their hearts and their minds. And we ask you to help us to take this time to, in community as a family, to glorify you even in this video. We just thank you for how you're bringing us back together in the engagement. And we ask you to just help us to be obedient to your call. In Yahushua's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Amen. All right. So I'll go ahead and hit play and we'll see where it goes from there.
Hello, fellow students of Jewish history. Today I'd like to ask a fascinating question, at least fascinating to me. Are the Lemba, who are a tribe of Africans living primarily in South Africa and Zimbabwe, are they genetically Jewish? They have a long oral tradition claiming descent from Judean migrants way back in the biblical period. And with modern genetic studies, there's some interesting evidence to suggest that what they're saying has a certain level of historic value. Now, before we get too deep in the subject, we have to, first of all, lay down the ground rules that genetics are not identity, right? The criteria to determine Jewish identity are far more complex.
I've been thinking a lot about starting my own business, but the thing is, I'm not really sure what I'm passionate about, and I want to do
and really depend on who you go to as your authority. The mainstream rabbinic view, which is embraced by Orthodox Jews to be sure, and for most of Jewish history over the last couple millennia, has been that Jews receive their identity in two ways, either through matrilineal descent, meaning they are born of a Jewish mother, or through conversion. And there's a whole bunch of discussions about what exactly that conversion means.
So I think that's a good way to open up. So, Elder, your feedback from Lemba, I know that's been a challenge even to be accepted by Israel and other people because you all go based on the patrilineage. So could you give some feedback about the history around that and why do you do patrilineage versus maternal lineage, as he also suggests?
Thank you so much, Brother Jesha. I'll concur with him. I'll agree with him on that we are not Jews. We are different from Jews by far. There is not even a trace of blood relationship. If we go by what he's saying, we're different people. One, I would say that if you look in the Torah, the history of the actually the Torah, the Bible is about the history of the Jewish people, about the Israelites. It's the history book. It writes about them. Now, if you go through the Bible, the Torah, we are told about the stories of the males, not the females, and their children.
Yes.
We're not told about their mothers, we're told about their fathers. And this is what I'm always saying, that were it been that case, if we take the Jewish way of the way they take it to be a Jew, we would be saying that Adonai of Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel, instead of saying the Adonai of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yeah.
But the Torah is very specific about that, and it's very clear about that it is on the male side. Even if you look at the history in the book of the Chronicles, it talks about the children, the male children. When we talk about Israel, it talks about the 12 sons of Israel, the 12 sons of Jacob. And when they talk about that, you don't find the names of the daughters of Jacob. In some instances, you find the name of Dinah, but not always. We talk about the 12 gates of Israel. It's the sons of Jacob, the sons of Israel. So this is our system as the LEMBA. This is our system. We are paternal, not maternal. We are paternal. And for us now to accept to be Jews, if this is suppose they want to convert us, we can only be Jews by conversion, not by blood. We don't meet anywhere. We cannot be Jews by blood. We don't meet anywhere. What it means is that we'll have to surrender. Like in my case, I will have to surrender my name, Hamandishe. Because it's my grandfather's name. I will have to look for my grandmother's name, if that is the case. I know there's a lot of confusion. I don't know how they do it, but that's what it would mean to indicate that I am of that bloodline. I am of the bloodline of my grandmother or my mother. So I agree with what he's saying, that Lembas cannot be Jews. It's very true. He's very correct.
Yes, sir. And I do find it also interesting from a biblical standpoint, because a lot of the biblical, bloodline Israelites sometimes didn't have a so-called Israelite mother. So, I think about Judah marrying Canaanite women, Tamar and his first wife, they were both Canaanite women. And then, David married women outside of the Israelites, kind of like Solomon, who's king. He's the next king, but they have different women that he married. And that goes all through the line of even the Israelites marrying women who might not be Israelites, even though it wasn't supposed to be appropriate, but they did do it, but yet they still kept their status. And I think he's going to try to use that as a way to disprove the status of the Lemba. But the Bible, as Elder talks about as well, the Bible says it's the paternal lineage. And I know it changed somewhere around the Roman period with Herod. And, he was an Edomite. He married a Israelite woman, as we talked about the last video. And that tried to change it with Herod Antipas and all that. They went by the maternal versus the paternal lineage. So it's very interesting that Jews today based on maternal lineage. I don't talk about it, but it gets confusing to me because, sometimes they say it's based on conversion, but then they say it's based on the mother line. So how can you be, convert that's based on the mother line? It gets confusing. So I think that's where, as Elder said, the difference between the Israelite and the Jewish connection. Chandra,
I just want to shoot in there that that's exactly what it is to confuse and divide and sow misinformation. from the infancy of doing that. And I just want to say, great perspective on both of those, Elder and Yasher. Great perspective.
Thanks, sir. All right. So I think he's going to go a little bit more into it now, and we can play a little bit and then give some more commentary.
In the late 20th century, the Reform movement adopted a patrilineal descent, claiming biblical precedent. Biblical text, there are some really interesting things that suggest that it may have been patrilineal in the biblical period, but this is not a discussion for this point. You can see I have another video on it. It did definitely switch sometime in antiquity where Jews began to turn to the matrilineal model. For Orthodox Jews, it is the moment of Matan Torah. For others, historians look at different points. But at any rate, most Jews today regard it as matrilineal. I should say certainly Orthodox Jews. Jews from other denominations may have other definitions.
Right there, I think is interesting because he recognized the fact it changed, but I'm not understanding what truly changed it. What was the official thing that said we're going to go from the father line to the mother line, right? So from a biblical standpoint, and Elder just said, it's based on he even recognized, he said ancient times, they did it based on the father's line. So what is the authority now that actually makes people one or the other? I think that's what the question is, what actually, go
I
ahead.
think
Yeah.
the question is, Yasher, is what, could you answer the question? What you said something about where do you put historically that change? He mentioned a few points, but you also mentioned some points. Where do you in your research, where do you see that changing, or if not changing, where do you see the modifications, if anything?
I mean, personally, I do. He has another video, as he says, and in that video, he actually talks about the time of King Herod. Herod comes in, and he's basically placed as the king of the Jews by the Romans, and even though he's not a Jew, he's or Israelite, we
Mm.
should say. He is a Edomite or Idumean. That's history. So the fact that he adopted some of the customs, they were forced to convert by John Hyrcanus during the time of the Maccabees or the Hasmonean period. So they were forced to convert. And they wanted to stay in their land because they were south of Judah. So if they wanted to stay in the land, they had to switch, and they did. And then later on, the Romans came into power and put them over the nation of Israel as kings, the Idumeans with King Herod. So he married a Israelite woman, and that's when you start hearing about Herod Agrippa and Herod Antipas, because it was through the mother's line that they inherited that status.
And
So,
can you expound upon that just a little bit? How many how many heralds are there really in the Bible? Just could you speak about that?
yes, because early, and I think when Yahusha was when Joseph was given the dream to go hide Yahusha the Messiah in Egypt, you can see when they came back, and there was already a king in place that descended from King Herod. I can't want to say his name, can't remember, it's Archelaus or something, Archelaus, I can't remember his name. But that's the reason why they end up going to Nazareth, because the angel gave him the dream, said, don't go back. And that's why they was called a Nazarene, because the next one that came, Herod's son that came in place, he was killing Israelites in the temple. He was killing them.
Mm.
So how do you kill people in the temple? Showing you that he didn't have regards or reverence for the temple itself. So, they even put up a pagan eagle to try to render respect for the Romans who were in power. So we know that most true Israelites wouldn't do that because they, feared Yah and wanted to hold respect to the temple. So, a lot of that was going on. And then you had him pass, and then you have, all the other ones with Herod Agrippa, Herod Antipas, and even some of them actually even killed some of the Israelites, like James, or threw some of them in jail, like Peter and so forth. And you can
Okay.
see that same battle that was going between Esau and Jacob, that says those will be the two fighting in the womb, was still taking place even in the New Testament, or the Brit Hadashah, as we call it. So,
And,
you hear about Herodotus. She was dancing. Her name is Herodotus for a reason. Herod. You hear about
yeah.
the Herodians. All these people
Mm,
are coming from this line. And, it makes you really think about how Revelation talks about, those who say they are Jews but are not, but are the synagogues of Satan. So it's like, here are these people like Herod who basically took the throne, and no, they weren't the bloodline, but they're not saying that these are the current day Jews or anything. I'm just talking from a biblical historical standpoint, because even some of them now are converts as well. And as we know in Deuteronomy 29, that he said that he's going to bring more people along, right? That was a covenant even to the water carriers and the woodcutters and the aliens that's among them, that he still wanted to bring them in. And even it said that later on that the Egyptians and the Edomites could actually enter in after the third generation. So, there's a possibility of some of that, but there had to be a circumcision, a true conversion as part of that process. But what he's saying is a maternal bloodline that actually approves you to be a
mm.
current day official Jew. And as I think Elder said, if you want to cut in anywhere, feel free. But as Elder said, there's the difference between an Israelite and a Jew. He just explained that. But a lot of people don't hear this. They don't know about this part. So they already exclude African Israelites because they go based on the paternal, like the Bible, versus based upon I think it's called halakha or some Jewish rite of passage. And the normal day, everyday person doesn't understand this. So I think that's where some of the confusion gets in as well.
Let me jump in here, and we'll move forward after this question. So would you say it's safe to say that if anybody was trying to have some more understanding about Edomites, Edom, would you suggest looking up the difference between what an Edomite is in the Bible and follow who these people really are, so you can get a sense of why these people are different? What does it say in the Bible? What does it say historically? And then it'll get you to this point that we're talking about in regards to the maternal and paternal. And just looking at the history of Edomites more in depth, would you say that would give you more of an understanding just about why we're using certain systems and why certain things happen, just in general?
Yes, I mean, I say even look at the Jewish encyclopedia, Jewish websites, and just type in Edomite and see what they actually say, because they will even have it, this description, what I'm saying now, they will even have it on their websites about what an Edomite is. There's also a thing called an Edomite Jew. So search Edomite Jew, see what that is. There's so many different types of Jews, and I think that's what people go wrong with. It's just try to say, hey, these white Jews are the Edomite Jews, but Edom, Esau was the brother of Jacob. So whatever Jacob is, Esau is too. So if we say Jacob was black, Esau had to be black. So we got to make sure we do rightfully understand what's going on. But there is some time that the Roman period where the Romans actually mixed in with a lot of the Idumeans or Edomites as well, which would change some of their, characteristics and stuff, racial characteristics with the mix and blend. But there's also some Edomite groups in Africa that look just like us, and they say that they come from Edom. So Edom is just not, a certain racial type. We got to make sure we understand the history and make sure. And I think that's what goes wrong in our community because, so much hurt, we try to associate something bad to the people of the Bible that's bad. And even Jews say that the Edomites, in some sense, is a spiritual Edom. Like they will say it's America are the Edomites. So, it's still like controversy. If you're American, you don't want to be called an Edomite either. So those are the things you definitely have to look at is the spiritual sense, the biblical sense, and then decide which one is the right path to describe who's the true Edomite. Because Obadiah talks about Edom will be destroyed. So whoever these Edomites are, it's a big deal for us to truly understand from a biblical sense who they are. And,
Great.
that's what the research
Great.
is very needed. Elder, you have anything
Great.
you want to add?
Okay. No, I just wanted to add up to what you are saying. You see, I don't know why they changed everything. Maybe because they were trying to hide their identity, because of the Holocaust and all those killings which were happening. I don't know. But I should think that this is a simple mistake which they made. And it's very difficult to reverse it. Because if you look at it, Yah himself, Adonai himself, he knows who his people are. If you go to Ezekiel 34, verse 13, Ezekiel 34, verse 13, let me look for it.
Take your time.
He says that I will bring them from the nations and gather them from the countries, and I'll bring them into their own land. I'll pasture them on the mountains of Israel, in the ravines, and in all the settlements in the land. So Adonai knows his people. Even if they change their identity, he still knows them. In other words, he still knows us. Even if they try and change us, they try to change our identity, maybe because of the skin color, or maybe because of a geographical area where we come from, still more Adonai knows us. That's why I'm saying that this is a simple mistake which they made. And I'm hesitant to use the word silly, because it might sound as if it's an insult. But it's a very simple mistake which they made, and it's difficult for them to reverse it, because he repeats it again. This is what I'm talking about in the book of Ezekiel. It's repeated again. You have already mentioned it, Brother Gesha, in the book of the Revelations. That I know them, and those who claim that they are Jews, yet they are not. They claim that they are Jews, but yet they are not. How do they claim that they are Jews? Maybe they do all the feasts. Maybe they do all the Torah. Maybe they do everything, the Shabbat. They follow the Torah as it is. They do it. But deep inside, they are not pure Israelites. And Adonai knows that. But then we waste our time trying to justify our identity, trying to convince them that we are the Israelites. I think we are just wasting our time, because Adonai already knows us. Instead of seeking him, we try and convince them that they agree that we are the pure Israelites. I think we are wasting our time as a community on that. We should not waste our time on that, because he already knows us. It's mentioned in the Brit Hadashah, and it's mentioned in the Tanakh. He knows us. And what they did is not convincing. What they did, changing from the paternal to the maternal, it's not convincing. It's a silly mistake, which can be done by a child, a small boy, a small girl who can do such a mistake. Because what it means that we have to change the whole system in the Bible. It has to change to fit them, which is a very big order. It cannot be done overnight. And no wonder why they restrict those who want to join them. They put a lot of fence around themselves that you're not going to penetrate in them, because you know everything. Because they know that they are there as Jews by default. And they are quite aware of that. No, this is the custom. I don't know, Brother Gesha. I think you are quite knowledgeable on their history. I don't know what made them to change this system. Maybe you should know better. I don't know what made them to change this system, but however they did it, it doesn't hold any weight.
No,
it's not convincing. It's not convincing. What I
Elder,
can say is that,
oh, go ahead. Go
hello,
finish.
it's okay. I'm listening.
Yeah, go finish. Go ahead.
Yes. I wanted to finish by saying that uh, what this the white the Jews, this the Ashkenaz are doing is just convincing themselves. It's not. They're not convincing the world. They're not convincing everyone because they have the Torah for so many years. These people for so many thousands of years, and they did all what they made all the changes they wanted on the Torah. Some of us were now receiving the Torah now, but it's not because of it's because of we didn't want to follow it, but because of situations beyond our control. We didn't have the opportunity to hold the Torah and learn it and have the time to study it the way they had. We didn't. But Baruch Hashem, they are now seeing that they are being challenged and they've got no answers. But we are now challenging them. And they're afraid to convince us that they are the pure Israelites. Because it's in the Torah. It's in the Bible. And what they are saying is actually the way they want us to believe. How can I say that I'm child of Abraham when I'm child of Mr. Smith or Mr. Henry or some French guy? It's difficult. But they try to change everything, changing our names, changing our identity, changing everything, piling all the evil names on us to the extent that we now hate ourselves, which is wrong, but it's still not holding any water. It's not,
Elder,
it's not strong enough.
Elder, let me jump in on that part if you don't mind. Can I jump in on it?
It's okay. It's okay. I've finished. I've finished my point.
Well, I want you to keep your point, but the name, when you were saying name, change identity, I wanted to, in your referencing earlier, when did this happen? So on and so forth. Yeah, sure. Elder's question plus my question is, in the Roman time, well, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that when they named Palestine? Can you expound upon that? I don't know if you know the history of when they changed. I think it was the Romans that brought them, took over, and then they changed the Palestina or used the name of the people that didn't like the Jews, and weren't those the Edomite? Am I wrong, or do I got it wrong, or do I got it? Am I close?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just even right. It was the Palestinians came from the Philistines, right? The name of the Philistine, Palestine, you can kind of hear. We talked a little bit about that before. But what happened was around, you think about what Hanukkah, the Maccabean period. I want to say I might not be accurate right this, but like 200 BC, and then that period goes forward, right? So this is when the Israelites was returned back to power over the land of Israel. So, they regained the temple, they rededicated, Hanukkah happened, and they continued to be a force until the Romans came in. So when the Romans came in, you're talking about Julius Caesar around that time. And then also, after Julius Caesar's died, you have Queen Cleopatra and Mark Antony and all that battle that actually happened. And then you have Augustus that comes up, and now he's, the emperor. And that during that time, that's when King Herod is getting established on the throne. So, and then everyone, a lot of Christians talk about the Christmas story, how Herod tried to kill all the babies and try to get rid of the king. So, all this is mounting up. And that's why it's amazing that the book of Maccabees is not found in the Protestant Bible, right? Because you go from one kingdom of Persia and you skip over all this stuff and you come to the Romans, you talk nothing about the Greek period and what happened with all these changes. So I think it's kind of odd that part gets taken out, right? So when you get to the Roman period, that's when, you get like, when Yahusha was born. Some people say 5 BC, some people say 0. He goes through his whole ministry around 30 AD or so forth. And then the Israelites get kicked out, which is only the southern kingdom, in 70 AD. So we got that time step in 70 AD. And then 132 AD, we have a king called King Hadrian, from an emperor, that comes in and he finishes off the job. He takes the Israelites and casts them out of Judea altogether, and then he renames the city Capitolona, Apollinus. That's his name of his father, and after Jupiter. Jupiter was named after like capital, that type of word. But then also he renames the Judea to Palestine after the
Can you say that
enemies of it.
again? Can you say that again?
He renames Judea Palestine after the enemies of the Israelites, the Philistines. So the Philistines were already in power, around and stuff, because about we talked about Hannibal and stuff. Hannibal was there, and after he passed away, that's when the Hanukkah happened, and the Philistines tried to go and enslave the Israelites that came out of the Greek period, and that's when the battle, all that happened. But you can see the Philistines were already there, but he knew that they were the enemy, so that's why he named the region, extended the name, Palestine over Judea as well, after trying to mock them. So that's where that comes in. So even that's where rabbinical Judaism also is established. They start writing it down, and they're working, with those particular groups, not the ones that got kicked out, but there's still a group that's reserved and left behind. And they start working with the Emperor Hadrian to start writing down their oral law. And that's where some of the, what's the Babylonian Talmud starts to, becoming, there's a Palestinian Talmud, but then there's a Babylonian one too. So they start writing it down. And there's a big name of rabbinical leader, but I don't know his name and stuff. I don't know if Muhammad, no, I think he's Spain. But anyway, I won't get myself in trouble trying to remember all those different leaders there. And that's the reason why I think it'd be good to have the conversation in the future with Harry Rosenberg or someone to kind of break down some of the stuff with us. So we get a better understanding. I think that's why it's good to engage in these kind of conversations, so we'll understand the full picture of how we need to go forward. Because it's not just, like I said, during this period, some of the Edomites were people of color, right? Were black. So, and then there's the Mizrahi, right? We got Mizrahi Jews, Sephardic Jews. And now even the Ethiopian Jews, they feel like when they had to be returned back to Israel, they had to change some of their customs and stuff. So what's this changing of customs? Who is the official person that puts a stamp on who Israel or Jews, or whatever term you want to call them? Who's the official person? And to me, as Elder says, it's Yah. Yah says in his word, who is what? We can't. And when things are taken and redefined, we got to ask, what redefined it? Under what authority did they redefine these things?
Exactly.
Great questions, guys. Great questions. We chopped that up. Great questions, Elder. Great questions, Yasser. Let's move on to that. Let's continue.
Okay, because then you'll start hearing him even starting to talk about a little bit of this, and it starts getting confusing because he starts with maternal, and then he says, "Oh, it's not based upon bloodline," and then he starts going in on the lemba. So, and I think it's very important to get this up front because you start hearing now in his interview what he's discussing. So,
what we don't have is the notion of bloodlines or of conformity to specific prophecies to say that a person is Jewish. I'm mentioning this because I got a lot of hate when I gave a couple of lectures on the history of the Jews of Africa, and oy veyzmir, where there's so many people who are upset about, you're not a real Jew, you're actually a Khazarian convert and stuff like that.
So that's what I'm saying right there. So he says this maternal line, but he said, "Oh no, it's not based upon bloodline." So like maternal line is still bloodline. So that's why I get confused. It's like, how can it be maternal and it's not about bloodline? But you'll start hearing him kind of breaking it down a little bit more there too.
Yeah. We're not going to go into those things, but I will say that when we look at the Lemba, and we look at genetic information, we can say that at least based on that kind of material, there's strong evidence to suggest that there is a Jewish connection to these people. This is something that has only been available in the late 20th century with the sequencing of the human genome. Let's go through some of this material. So first of all, Who are the Lemba? They are Bantu-speaking Africans. There are 70,000 of them. They're primarily living in South Africa and Zimbabwe. They have an oral tradition that they're descended from white men who came from a place called Sena by.
So right there, I guess that's, he's, to me, he's setting up, right? Because first he says they're Bantu speaking, right? He's trying to create differences between the two. But the current day, people who, say they come from Israel, they speak Yiddish, and that's a Slavic language. That's not the original Hebrew either.
Yeah.
So even like the different people that even came from to here to America, the slaves in the oldest black church in America, the First African Baptist Church, they got the Hebrew writing on the side of the pews where the black slaves wrote, but it's not the ancient Hebrew. It's still a cursive Hebrew. So you can see that languages, as they go to different cultures, they adapt. So why not the Bantu people? The Bantu even have some of their words are actually connected to Hebrew as well. So, but he's showing this distinction, like he's trying to separate. And that's where it gets. And then he tries to say that the Lemba said they came from white Jews. So, Elder, could you explain what he's trying to say there?
Yeah, this is what I said in the beginning, that they tangle themselves, they're dribbling themselves, they're shooting themselves in the foot. Was to start with, what he's talking about, the white man called Sena. I don't know where he got that history from. I don't know where he got that information from. Because he could only have got that information from a white researcher, not from a Lemba person himself. Because we have got no such history. And as we're going further on, we'll discover that what he's saying about there's a connection between the Jews and the Lemba. There's no connection. They're trying to create that connection, but it doesn't fit. It's too small to fit. It's oversized. It cannot fit. We'll later on find out that where is the connection and where does it fit? It's just an illusion. No, it's just something which is just, it's an imagination. There's no truth in what he's saying. There's no connection. There's no blood connection. What I'm talking about is the blood connection. Not the connection of living in the same country and all that. No. We're talking about here the blood connection between the Jews and the Lemba. Maybe we can go further and try and understand what he's talking about. But maybe before that, we can hear what we're talking about, what we think about. But what I can say is that there's no connection. There's no connection. He has already said that we are Jews through our mothers, but they are Lemba through their fathers. That's what he said, and which is true. Which is true.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And what about the part, because, he didn't fully say it here. He starts to act like there's a mythical place called Sena in Israel. And he act like, he puts a lot of fuzziness, like it might not be there, it might be there. Could you say about, where the Lemba tradition is coming from Israel? Because I know you showed a map and talked about some of the history there as well, about how it shows that you all were in Israel.
Yeah, you see, the name Sena, it's very consistent in our songs, in our vocabulary, in our poems. It's there. In the places where we once stayed, once we talked, it is there. Because it originates from the names of the returnees from Babylon, when they returned from Babylon after the captivity. Under the leadership of Ezra and Nehemiah, not Zerubbabel. Now, there's a list of people who returned and the number of their children. There's that on verse, I think, chapter 9, verse 35 in the book of Ezra, in Nehemiah also, verse 35. I can't remember the chapter, but it's verse 35 on both. they talk about, it talks about a man called Senna, who had 3,634 children. That's the highest number of children he had. Of all the returnees, Senna had the highest number of the returnees who returned back. And that name is still synonymous with us. That's where we get that name Senna from. And then that must be one of our common ancestors. Because in Israel itself, there's also a place near Judea, a place called Senna. It's there. On the old maps of Israel, it's there. But you also find this name wherever the Lemba went, you find this name. They went from Israel, they went to Yemen, and they built a city there, and they named it Senna. It is still there. After this man from Babylon, the returning in Israel returning from Babylon. Then you go to Mozambique, there's a place called Senna. It's even there today. It's there. Senna is still there. That means this man was a prominent figure in our history. He was not a white man. He was not a white man. He was an Israelite. He was an Israelite. If you, from Mozambique, you go to Zimbabwe, there's a place, this place Zimbabwe was supposed to be called Senna. Because there's a city, it's now called Gokomere. It's a city in Zimbabwe here. If you got the old names of Zimbabwe, it used to be called Senna. Now, after they constructed the Great Zimbabwe Ruins, and we are told that we died like flies because our forefathers ate defiled food. One group crossed over the Limpopo River and went to South Africa. And immediately they crossed the Limpopo River, they built a city there. They named it Senna. It is still called Musena today. It's there. The town in South African side from Zimbabwe, it's called Musena. Musena. It's there. So Senna is not a Jewish name. What I want to say is that when I say that it's not a Jewish name, I'm talking about the Jews of today. From 1948. From 1948. I'm talking about the Jews of today. From 1948. I'm not talking about the old Jews, the pure Jews. Yes, but because these days, if you continue using the name Jew, you confuse a lot of people. The best thing is to use the name Israelite, Hebrew or Israelite. Because that will fit there easily.
Yes, sir.
You see. So hello?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought I was going to ask you something. Go ahead. Go ahead. Continue on, please.
Oh no, that's all right. So the name Senna is not Jewish. The way he wants to put it. He wants to build up their image. He wants to build up their history. He wants to build up their grip on the land of Israel. When it's not there. That's why I'm saying that he's just dribbling himself. You see, there's a rope there, and he's tangling himself on the rope. He's tying himself. No one is tying him, he's tying himself. Because he says this, then he says this, says this, then he says this. He's countering himself.
And isn't there a Senna tribe there now? Somewhere in Mozambique or something? Senna tribe?
The Lemba, the other name of the Lemba is Senna.
So it's the same. When you hear Senna tribe, it's still Lemba. It's just
still Lemba.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I
saw there was a Senna tribe, so I wasn't sure how that was connected, but it's all the same people.
If you go to Mozambique, we are known by the name of Senna.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we are known by the name of Senna.
Thank you, sir. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And DeAndre, I know you helping us bring that young adult view because I see a little gray in my beard going, so I'm getting a little older. So from a standpoint of what you hear that's going out there right now for your age group and younger, do you think they understand these concepts and how these concepts kind of help redefine their understanding of who we are as the Israelites ourselves?
Yeah, I think you guys hit up. Just sitting back and soaking up all this correct knowledge. Knowledge from Elder. The Lemba Sinna have a 2,500 to 2,700 year history. So you got oral tradition that's alive and alive and well. Standing in power. Keeping the traditions and um, deciding to be revealed. It's understood that, from Elder, they weren't hiding; they were just keeping to themselves and looking up the Edomites, knowing that there's three different type of heralds, following the line that the Lemba and or Sinna, the forefathers, made, researching those cities, researching the people that live in those countries. Yemen, do the Yemenites recognize the sin of the Limba coming through? Do the Ethiopians recognize or have an oral history of the sin coming through? Do the South Africans? Do your research, because all the things that we're saying are breadcrumbs to the truth, and we're just getting a great historical aspect. There's nobody more sharper and analytical in regards to dates, time than you. Elder, sharp with the Bible, dates, times, and has actually lived Torah life. He's lived Torah life before he even knew what he always knew, but I'm saying as a kid. He's just doing these things growing up. And so we actually have somebody that's living a Torah life. So we got lineage, we got historical background, we got to this day, um, the Limbas are following certain specific requirements of Levites and requirements of the Torah. So, what I got to say to the young people, take some notes, write these things down. If you hear us talk about something more than once, it has to be noteworthy. And more than anything, you need to listen to Elder and listen to the points that he's making, because um, um, it's not all about sounding good, but it is about listening to the people, the Limba, a elder, that we have confidence in our elders, because the African American society right now doesn't put a lot of emphasis. Not all of us are not like that, but you need to turn your ear in and listen to what Yasher's saying, what Yasher Stephen, that's him, and Elder Conan Hamadishi, because once you get those breadcrumbs, you can make a slice of bread, and once you get more slices of bread, you can have a whole loaf, and that's just the important. Have a full loaf and be able to eat and eat of this knowledge and get these concepts and historically reference, um, orally reference, and then bringing everything together. And so that all I'm saying is we're not saying these things um, to bolster our um, views. We're getting this knowledge out because we believe in the Torah, we believe in Yahweh, and we believe in Yeshua, and we're just doing our work. So, younger generation, older generation, take notes. And if anything doesn't line up, I know I can speak for the brothers right now. Anything doesn't line up that we're talking about, yeah, hit us on our social medias. We'll explain or expound more so that you can have clarity. These are just not videos that we're doing. We're doing videos, but you can reach us. We're reachable. Elders reachable. Yasher's reachable. I'm reachable, and we can, if there's any confusion, we can explain, expound, and move forward. So what I just want to say for the younger kids, tap in, listen, know that if you have any questions, we are ready, able at any time to ask them. So just and this is how all our videos going to be. No matter if we do videos, interviews, roundtables. We're the same people that you're seeing right now, and being our most authentic people. So let's just, in closing that, you asked me what I could speak to the younger generation. This is really for the younger, and it's for everybody. Tap in to what we're saying, follow the breadcrumbs, and most importantly, you got, yeah, like you said to me off video. I just want to share this, is that we got to stay believing in the word, not man's manipulation of the word, not man's opinion of the word, uh, uh, um, and stay on that, because as we see, there's a lot of things, and just we haven't even broken into the 5 minute part yet, and we've been chopping him down. So even if you go to rabbinical school, or you believe this, or if you're this guy's teaching a lot of people, but is saying a lot of stuff that is contradicting his knowledge base. And um, um, young brothers, young sisters, you don't want to get knowledge like that. You want to stay consistent, like Yasher, stay consistent like Elder. He's not going to be backpedaling and fence riding. And I just want the younger people to watch this video and see the tricks the tricks of the trade, of how they'll identify something, validate but invalidate, and we have no bias against this guy. We're just breaking down scripturally what he's talking about, and then in regards to that, he's talking about a limba without even interviewing a limba, or he would have done a video with a limba elder. So we're here with the limba elder, with Yasher Stevens and his large knowledge base. I know I'm too. Yeah, I know.
No. I mean, the thing about this is, I started this journey trying to disprove who we were as Israelites. So, I had to go as a minister in seminary. They didn't teach this stuff, so I even had to pull out of seminary and search this stuff myself. So that's why I'm glad you said I might not be 100% right. Make sure you look through this stuff, because I had to. I couldn't go to a black church that was teaching this stuff, because nobody would, even seminary, they said they'll skip over this part. So that was a Baptist seminary. So, that they actually had us enslaved. So you can understand, some of the tone there, because they were teaching the Hamite curse and saying that we were the curse of Ham. And like you said, all these confusion. So, it's good that we have these conversations, especially with the different ages, and then even throughout the globe, to talk about the impact to our people. And that's why it's important for us to do this. So thank you, John Dre, for doing it. And of course, Elder. And this is where it's going to get real interesting. So it's very important that we're setting up this stuff, because, this is going to show a misrepresentation of the Lemba tribe. And if you only trust, like you say, in certain faces that tells us information, based upon the color of skin, because there's a lot of colorism. Like you said, they won't listen to people of our own, but they'll listen to other people outside. And you can see how we have some issues with that. So so that's why I wanted to make sure we talk about the sinner, because he's gonna kind of hit towards it, but then he's going to bring the authority back to like the Judaism type of understanding, and not the biblical understanding. So
Okay.
all
Yeah,
right.
I'm so happy that I'm so happy. Sorry for
No, sir. Go ahead.
I'm so happy that you brought this up, because you might not be aware of how important these videos we are doing are to the young generation. It's just some few days ago, about 3-4 days ago, a certain young lady reached out to me. She's from America. Her name is Natasha. So she was asking me this type of questions. So I said, afterwards, after our discussion, I said, how did you know me? Because you are not my friend on Facebook. We are not friends. How did you find out about me? How did you know me? Then she mentioned this channel. Yes, she mentioned this channel. Said, I watched you on an interview.
Hallelujah.
It's just a few days ago. You see, I wanted to bring it up to this meeting, but I said, no, let me leave it.
That'll be great. Maybe we, Andre
It's
might can coordinate that. That's important to hear that feedback.
it's doing what the purpose of these meetings, to touch our young generation, to touch our boys, to touch our girls, to touch our children. This is what we want. Because we are laying out the foundation. What we are doing is laying out the foundation. But there are some limits where we cannot some limits which we cannot overdo or we cannot manage to do. I'll take, for example, we are talking about the SENA in Mozambique, SENA in South Africa, SENA in Yemen. These people need to be visited.
Yes, I agree.
They need to be visited. We haven't got the capacity to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But those behind us might have the capacity. They have to visit these places for the benefit of the next generation.
Yes, sir.
So me, I'm very, very, very excited with what we are doing, Brother Jason, Brother J. Andrew. I'm very excited because it's touching the young generation.
Yes, sir.
It's touching them.
Wow. Wow.
And I'll put out a little commercial. If y'all from Center and you're watching this, reach out to us, any of these centers. Because if you're living there, you can send us information and videos and all that, and we can still, be able to have that conversation. So thank you, Elder. That's a great idea, for us to do.
With a right, we're reach out and know that we're gonna represent you right and represent anything you tell us. We're gonna keep it within us and with all respect. Like Yasha always says, we need to respect and show respect. So we're all about that. So if you do reach out to us, anybody know a Sinna, anybody know, even if you're in that Lemba in South Africa, reach out. We respect all values, women, children, and everything. And so yes, let's go. That was great. That was a great breakdown, you guys. Let's go.
Great.
We haven't even got into the meat and potatoes. Let's go though.
So I'm gonna play it a little bit longer because I know we're kind of stuck on time. So I'm gonna play a little longer portion and then we can give a little bit more commentary. But I think a lot of this introduction is very important because you're gonna see now how some of the conversation goes from here.
Boat. And the Sena might somehow be, they don't know exactly where it is. It might be Judea. It might be Sana'a, which is a place in Yemen. Then they came onto the African continent and they built Sena again, possibly in Tanzania or Kenya, and then again migrated and built it a third time, possibly in Mozambique, before they were engaged in the massive project of building Great Zimbabwe, which is this huge archaeological ruin that really indicates a massive civilization in southern Africa. At some point in what we would call the medieval period, they broke Jewish law by eating mice, not kosher, and then they were exiled throughout South Africa. If it was me and this was my one opportunity to break the laws of kashrut, I don't think mice would be my first choice, but at any rate, that's how it went. Now,
this is how to get.
So, yes, sir. That'd be a great time to.
I wanted to respond on what he has just said.
Yes, sir. Please do.
Because I might forget to carry on like that.
Yes, please do. Yes, sir.
This is the portion which offended me a lot. Was when he talks about the picture is portraying about the Lemba that they ate mice, and it's as if we ate something gross. I don't know what do you know the meaning of. I don't know the word gross.
Oh yes, that's right. Yes, sir. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something which you cannot even look at. Something which is filthy. And it goes
grotesque, grotesque, like grotesque, nasty.
Exactly. And he goes on and says that if it's something not kosher, if it was if I'm to eat something unkosher, I would never eat mice. That's what he's saying. But he is forgetting that in the Tanakh, in the Bible, the sin of eating mice is as good as the sin of eating pork.
Yes.
It's the same.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot tell me that this mouth which we are seeing on his face never ate mice, never ate pork. You must probably ate it that very day. Let me read for you Isaiah 66, verse 17. Is someone with the Bible nearby? Or I can read from here.
You can read from there.
Let me read.
Take your time.
There are two verses actually. There's Isaiah 66, verse 17. It says, those who consecrate and purify themselves to go into the gardens, following the one in the midst of those who eat the flesh of pigs and rats and other abominable things, they will meet their end together, declares Adonai.
That's a true scripture. That's
Adonai
plain.
is joining these two together, a pig and a mice. But when it is done by the LEMBA, it's more offensive. You know, it's more bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's more serious than someone was eating a pig.
And that's what gets me, because the some of the current Jewish Israelis, they are secular and they eat pig. So
they do that. Let me read the last verse, the last scripture. It's also found in the book of Isaiah 66, from verse 15 to 18. Isaiah 66, verse 15 and 18, it says, mean those who eat pigs and mice will be judged and slain. It doesn't say those who eat horses and mice, or those who eat dogs and pigs. No, it says those who eat mice and pigs will be slain. They are equally lustful to Adonai. He hates such people. But now, in the case of the LEMBA, because it was done by the black people, by the LEMBA, our sin is more serious than theirs who eat pig.
Mm.
You see, he's trying to paint us with a very black brush.
Yeah.
Their sin is white sin. Our sin is black sin.
Mm.
We have to be very careful on what these people are now teaching. They're teaching falsehoods. And if we don't count what they're saying, people will start believing what they are saying, and they will take it as if it's true.
Correct.
But we have to protect ourselves. We have to put ourselves across using the Torah, using the Bible, using the word of God. Because it's our only weapon. That's our only weapon.
Yes, sir.
The truth.
And that's what I was saying, is that, there's a lot of people, even in America, who are no longer holding to Halakha and Jewish. They still consider themselves, and other people consider them as Jews, but yet they don't even hold the Torah. They eat pig, celebrate Christmas, but yet they still say they're Jews. But here he's showing the distinction, and as Elder saying, they're trying to eliminate the lemba because they went through this period of time, especially being in Africa and, what's going on, that they tried to use that as a way to disprove their legitimacy of being Israelites. Even the Bible says the Israelites left Israel, got kicked out because they weren't doing right. So it even makes sense more that we will be found in places where we're coming back to our understanding and our true heritage. So that's what the Bible says, that we will return back to our heritage. So, even the Lemba still knows their heritage, where they come from. So he overlooks all that and just focuses on, like he said, the gross eating mice and rat. He focused so much on that part, but he doesn't talk about credit the other part of the lineage and the history and oral history. And, he made it seem like Senna, he got questions marks around where Senna is. Like he doesn't really know. We don't really, and you just heard the elder talks about Senna. It's on old ancient maps and it's in the Bible, but they make it seem like it's mysterious, like it's not true. It might not be true. So, with that said, it's just, shows you what's going on now. That as DeAndre even said, showing people what's truly happening in some of these conversations, because they won't know the backdrop around this, so they'll just believe anything that's said. So let me finish playing this. I think I'm going to do Shabbat service in a little bit, so let me play a little bit more of this.
In shape in 7 minutes a day.
What's Jewish about them? Well, they claim this Jewish descent, and in fact, they have lots of Jewish beliefs and practices. For example, they are monotheistic. They practice circumcision. Now, these two things are common also for Muslims in the region. But the Lemba also practice animal sacrifice, which seems to be more connected to a biblical past. They do not eat pork. Again, Muslims don't eat pork too. But they also don't eat milk and meat. Furthermore, they have other smaller practices that are very congruent with Jewish history, like they pay a lot of attention to the lunar calendar. So basically, their story is that they were led by a particular clan called the Buba.
Let me just say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just a wait. Sorry, I won't be long.
No, go ahead.
This question about we don't eat milk in the meat is wrong. He is totally wrong. We know nothing about that. We eat yogurt at the end of the dinner. We eat ice cream after eating a meat pie. We drink a cup of milk. We don't do that. And this is what you can see now, that they are trying to fuse in their culture, which is not Torah, into our system. And these are the things, when they come here as missionaries, these are the things that they are teaching our people. To be a proper Jew, you must not eat milk and meat. But where is that written in the Torah? Can you prove it using the Bible? It's just something they created. And they want us to believe it. It's because they had the Torah for so long time, for so many years, and they played around with it, and there's no one who challenged them. But we are now here to challenge them by the way we lead our life. We have to live a pure Torah life, as it is in the Torah, not as it is in the Halakha or Mishnah.
And Elder, isn't that you're supposed to cook? Isn't the verse that you're talking about, or correct me if I'm wrong, it's you're not supposed to cook the meat in the cook. Can you go ahead? I know you know.
Like cook a kid in his mother's milk. Talking about taking that and putting that. That was a Canaanite custom they used to do.
Exactly. That's
but
what
they took it to another. Oh, go ahead, Elder.
That's what it says. Actually, if you want to go further on that, it says not in its mother's milk. Its mother's milk, meaning that you can cook it in another goat's milk, not exactly its mother's milk. You can do that.
Yeah.
That's what is in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say don't eat milk and the meat at the same time. No. If you go to the Bible, I'll give you another example, which we all know. When the three visitors visited Abraham, when he was just was coming from his circumcision, when they visited him to announce about that, to announce to Sarah that she was going to have a baby, a child. When they arrived, they asked, where is Sarah? And Abraham says, she's there somewhere. And then they say, next time we come here, around this time, she's going to be nursing a baby. And Sarah laughed. So one of the angels said, why is he laughing? Is there anything impossible with Adonai, with Yah? Now, the Torah says Abraham left and told the young boy, I think that was Ishmael, to go and prepare meat from a 2-year-old lamb and prepare that meat for the visitors in some milk. And then he went to Sarah and told her to bake some cakes and give it to the visitors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But on the table, what was brought on the table was, he says that what was brought on the table was the meat and the yogurt and the milk. And they ate while Abraham was watching, and they ate that. It doesn't say anything about the cakes, the bread which Sarah made. Meaning that when Sarah was told that she was going to have a baby, her natural body automatically changed into a young lady to prepare for the pregnancy. So maybe she had not to set on what happens to our women every month. And she couldn't prepare something which the angels would eat in her state. In her state, she couldn't, and they couldn't eat that, because she was now a woman who had to go through that procedure every month. But the meat and the milk was brought and they ate. Now, if angels can eat bread and milk at the same time, why shouldn't we do that?
Wow. Never thought about it. Yeah, that's great.
See, this is what I'm saying, that we should live a Torah life as it is. You don't have to imitate what they are doing. Let's live. We're not in a competition with them.
Mm-hmm.
Let them carry on. But these are the things which will make them be separated from the pure Jews, who are us, from the Israelites. These are the things which will separate them from us.
You're right.
Yes,
You're
sir.
right, Elder.
Yes, sir.
You're right. Every little thing, every little misunderstanding gives our people more things to doubt, misunderstand. And just for everybody that's listening, Elder, Elder's been living a Torah life ever since he was born. It wasn't since he got, since he, not to be disrespectful, Elder, but your mom nursed you, and from that point, even when you're being nursed, and after as a toddler, after as a little boy, after as a grown man, you've lived a Torah life you, even if you didn't read the Bible, the limba, but I'm not saying that you don't believe in the Bible. What I'm saying is, even if you didn't read the Bible or do know any of these things, limba and descendants of Sinna live the Torah life without understanding that there's other ways to live, but this is what all you know. You only know how to live a Torah life because that's what you were taught since you were a baby. Would you say that to be true, Elder, or do you think I'm reaching on
It's
that
very
point?
true.
Or
It's very true, Brother Andrew. It's very true. It's very true. And my mother was very strict on that.
Mm.
When my fellows boys would come to collect me to go and play, she would make sure that I'm full. So she would put me in the kitchen and feed me bread, and make sure that I'm full. If anything was going to, when the food was going to be offered wherever we are, I won't be able to eat. Because she was surprised if I go hungry, I'll eat the found food.
Wow.
But this is not, she was not doing this because she was a Christian. She was doing this because it was part of our culture. It was part of our life. It is part of our life. We have to live Torah life, but it's part of, you cannot separate Torah life in our culture. It's the same.
Mm.
It's the same. We don't only find Torah life when you go to Shabbat, when you go to the synagogue, or when you go to church. No, we go to church with our culture and come back with our culture. And this is what an Israelite should do. This is exactly what an Israelite should do. Don't separate your life and your culture.
Wow.
Make sure that you immerse your culture in the Torah.
So important. That is so important.
great, great.
Let me
That's
play
great.
this.
That was great. Let's go. Yeah.
Let me go ahead because I only have a couple more minutes. So I might skip over some parts just to save some time, but you can see how he has the question marks now, right? It's like we know where these places are. Why does he question if they exist or not, right? So let us continue to play it. I might skip some parts just to save some time because I think there's another part that Elder needs to speak to when he's talking, I think in more of a derogatory way towards the LEMBA.
From somewhere in the Middle East into Africa and eventually ended up primarily in South Africa and Zimbabwe. Now, what does the science say? So to understand that, we have to go back a little bit to look at the so-called Cohen gene. This is something that was discovered at the turn of the 20th century. Geneticists who worked on this major project and wrote a book about it called Jacob's Legacy.
So I'm going to skip over a little bit. He's basically breaking down the haplotypes and so forth and saying where that history comes from. But let me get to, okay. So this is when he's breaking down what is the biblical or halakha way of saying what's a Jewish. Notice he says Jewish and not Israelite. So that's where I think, it's kind of changing here. He's changing it from the biblical standpoint to the rabbinical standpoint, but he's not telling you that. So
maybe I didn't say this. Jews are divided in a patrilineal system. While the identity, the status of being Jewish is matrilineal, it comes through the mother, as we mentioned earlier. Tribal status, on the other hand, is derived from the father, right? So the 12 tribes that are described in the Bible and so on. But there's one tribe, the tribe of Levi, which was divided in two. There were brothers. One of them was Moses, i.e. the Moses, and the other was Aaron, also the Aaron, who was the first high priest. All the male descendants of Aaron were called in Hebrew Kohanim, or priests. And it goes through the male line exclusively. Now, thinking about genetics, of course, you're aware that women have two X chromosomes, men have an X and a Y chromosome. There's a lot more to say about differences between these two, but not for this video. But that means that all men receive their Y chromosome exclusively from their father.
To me, this is where it gets confusing because he just did all this case and saying it didn't come through the paternal line. Now he's saying tribal status comes through the paternal line. So it's confusing. It's like, how do you know? It's all everywhere. Maternal, paternal, tribe, not tribe. Levites come from the paternal, but the LEMBA's paternal, but we don't include them. It's confusing.
He's dribbling himself. He's confusing himself.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir. Yes, sir. And I
yeah.
think he gets even later on. He talks about it's based on conversion. So he's doing all this stuff saying this bloodline, but then he said sometimes it's conversion. So what is
You
the true
you you
way of doing that?
you want to know what my take on this is that he's getting questions about the limba, and he's not answering them right. So he said, you know what, I'm gonna come out with a video, answer these questions. But all, like you said, Elder, he's dribbling. Like you said, yeah, sure, he's all over the place. And the most important thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that the truth that only has one side, and he's been jumping. He's been going back and forth like Venus and Serena Williams on the tennis court. So let's go, let's
Let's
go.
listen to a little bit more. I'm gonna skip over because he goes more into, some of the Jewish rabbinical side of how some of them are not even, some of them took on the name Kohanim when they came to America and tried to say that they were priests, and they're really not. Even with the Jewish side of it. So, he's showing that there's some questionable stuff going on, even, in his own community, but he's now associating that with, he tries to push it back to the limba too. So
This
And I just
single,
want to, and I just want to throw in anything in this video that you need some more knowledge about. Doesn't matter if you're 10, 12, 15, 18, 30, 60, or 80. Feel free to reach out to Elder Conan Hamadishi. Feel free to reach out to Yasser Stevens, and feel free to reach out to me, and we're gonna get you the knowledge. If you need more in-depth um, tutelage, or if you just need to reach us about this video or anything in regards to the Israelite faith, the Torah, we are open. We don't want you to be confused listening to random videos. Like I said before, we are reachable. You can reach us, and you'll get the answer that you need. And we don't believe in any kind of doctrine or dogma. We believe in Torah. Elder believes in Torah life, been living it. Yasher has been living Torah life and teaching it. Teaches me every time I talk to him. I got to throw it out there. Then me, I'm just trying to follow the Torah and have my life blessed, and just be around all these gentlemen and gentlewomen that have all this knowledge. So if you have any questions about this video, we're skipping over stuff, but if you end up watching the full thing and there's questions, write it down, hit Yasher, hit Elder Hamadishi, or hit my Instagram or my social media. We'll get the answer for you. That's all I want to say.
thank you.
print called the Cohen modal haplotype. That's fascinating, which confirms that there is this long tradition of Y chromosome descent that was preserved among Kohanim. And even more fascinating, when you calculate how far back these people had a common male ancestor, it works out just about 3,000 years ago, a little bit more than that, possibly a little less, depending on how long the generations are, which essentially is the same as our sensibility of when Aaron the Kohen lived. And so, like, wow, it was an earth-shattering discovery.
So you're basically saying the Lemba tribe matches the exact period time of when the Levite and Aaron lived. So just want to throw that out. He's confirming that the Lemba's blood type does go to this. He's just trying to say they don't keep the rabbinical customs. So,
And I also want to throw in that there's maps of Limba on ancient maps too. And then Josephus Flavius also mentions the Limba in his writings. So go check that out. If you didn't want to listen to us, if you don't want to listen to him, there's already people out there that you can see maps. He should know this. There's already maps out there, but we'll be showing this when we'll put it in the edit. And then also there's Limba being recognized and named in historical context. So I just want to throw that out there for the viewers.
that's a great idea. We'll try to edit it in there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lots of people were really interested in it. There is also fascinating material we discovered about the mother's descent, which is a little more difficult to measure because, of course, both the father and the mother contribute an X chromosome. But there is a thing called mitochondrial DNA, which is exclusively from the mother. And through the DNA in the mitochondria, it is possible to determine interesting things about women and their role in the genetic history of the Jewish people. We'll say more about that, God willing, in another lecture, but it is important to point out that we shouldn't be thinking exclusively about the men. One of the things that's really important about the Kohanim is that their wives maintain fidelity, meaning the sons of these women were, in fact, the sons of their husbands at the same time. Now, let's go back to the Lemba, now that we have identified this Kohen.
So right there, that makes sense. He said the sons of the women had to be sons of the father as well. That's just showing you it's paternal. So if the sons come from the mother, not the father, that means it's not maternal. It's not paternal. It's maternal. But he said it has to be both. He just said it has to be paternal, even though all the beginning of the video he said that wasn't legit and it's all about maternal. And now he's switching up and saying it is paternal. So that's the confusing piece to me. And hopefully, you know, as we get someone from that community up here, that will help us to try to clarify some of these things that he's saying.
Is it not possible for you to bring him up?
To make it bigger, let's see.
No, I mean to call him.
Oh, I see what you're saying. We can try. Sometimes, you know, I think that's a good idea. You know, I know other people have reached out, but we'll try to reach out and see if he's willing to have that discussion as well. I think that's a great idea.
So-called Kohen gene. Several scholars working with Goldstein, including the great Tudor Parfit, a tremendous historian who's worked extensively in Africa, retrace the migration patterns described in the Lemba tradition. They put that into context with the oral tradition that they have of descent from Judea. So we can first of all push aside the whole question of mitochondrial DNA, because when the Lemba women were tested, there was no similarity to Jewish women or Middle Eastern women. Their DNA was primarily similar to the African Bantu-speaking peoples among whom they lived. It's useful to note that the Lemba are very, very strict about their patrilineal descent, but not their matrilineal descent. Men, in other words, cannot convert to become a Lemba, but a woman may. There's a lot of really rigorous hazing kind of rituals that are associated with female conversion, including things like they have to crawl through an anthill and they have to eat these horrible emetics that cause them to vomit and that thus remove their impurities and really bizarre things like that. But another,
so Elder, this right here is the part I think. Yes, that's the part that I want you to speak on. I want to make sure we didn't miss that.
That's an insult, Brother Gesha.
I can see.
That is an insult. I don't know why he gets that courage to tell such lies. I've never seen such happening. Our sons, our children, our brothers, they're getting married every day to non-Lemba wives. They don't go through that. And it's not even in our history.
Wow.
Not even in our teachings. Not even in our oral history. We don't hear of such. That can be even asked the people who live with, the Gentiles who live together with, those who have created the relationship through marriages. We have never faced this. I don't know why he got it.
And you see how he kind of tried to change the subject at the end, act like he didn't want it to go into it. So
it's very
and I just want to throw it out there for our Israelite sisters. This is what you got to watch out for even more, that they see this deception and tell you things with no. We're here live with Elder Hamandishe, a actual elder, known, recognized, and he's telling you that that's not correct. And I just want to throw out for the women and young ladies and women of middle age and older, these things that he's saying is not true. and this is why we're doing this video. And Elder, excuse me for jumping in, but I just want to make this specifically a point in our interview. We're talking to the ladies only. This is not true. This is why you need to really study the Bible, stay away from dogma, and be careful who you listen to online. And like I said before, Elder, are you not reachable?
I'm reachable.
Boom. There you
Yes,
go.
yes. I'm reachable. You have my contact details, more my reachable contact. You have my email, you have my WhatsApp, you have my Facebook.
He's open to talk. He's open to talk, ready to go, you guys. And this is what I'm saying. Don't get it from a video. Get it from the horse's mouth. Not calling you a horse, Elder, all respect, but it's a metaphor, figure of speech. Go to the go to the root. That's a better one. Go to the root, and you won't have to listen to any of these people tell you this misgivings. You may have came upon some of videos or learned about the limba, however, and then you come across this video gives you doubt. No, this is why we're doing this video, to dissect it and just to show you the deception, and also just the scholarly the disconnect from being an actual scholar to a YouTube. Like, are you doing this for views? You should know these things, and then most importantly, you should have done your research before you even did this video. So, like Elder say, this is a tragedy. This is horrible, and this is what he was referring to at the beginning: nasty and grotesque things to devolve and to disassociate your the limba with their true heritage, with what they really do, and disregarding the fact that limbas live the Torah life more closely than most nations that we see right now. And sorry to interrupt Yasha. I just want to throw that out there.
But yeah, that's why it's so important, yeah, for us to actually have this, these discussions. And, that's what we try to do, is preserve our history and get it out, because it's important for us to know who we are as African Israelites, or Israelites, period, versus, what, like some of the Jews, like the Black Jews, right? They convert to being Judaism. They want to have that, so there are even differences even among our own people. So we need to truly understand what we're trying to say. And, he heard at the very beginning that he even talked about how people were upset when he was talking about the African Jews, and he got all this feedback and all this stuff because you can see how we were misrepresented even in this video. So if you go back and look at his other video, you might now see some stuff there as well. So it's important for us to know who we are, our tradition, preserve it, and preserving it means to protect it. So, that's the reason why it's so important. So I'm gonna play the end. Oh, you have anything else, Elder, before we finish this video?
No, it's okay. It's
okay.
All right.
Okay, I got a couple more minutes, so I just want to make sure we get to the end, because in the end, he's going to go back and say that the limba are based upon paternal, and the history is just not based upon the rabbinical part. So I'm glad that Elder started talking about the difference between the Jews and the Israelites, Jewish customs and Israelite customs, Bible customs versus Talmud halakha. All right.
In other words, the bottom line is that all Lemba men are the sons of prior Lemba men, but Lemba women can come from anywhere and can join the Lemba clan. And once again, that underlines the fact that by rabbinic status, the Lemba can't be Jewish because they don't have matrilineal descent.
So he said by rabbinic, they can't be Jewish. He didn't say anything about Israelite. So once again, they're bringing their authority, saying that they're the authority, the rabbinical stuff, not the Bible. So,
but what about the men? And what about the Y chromosome on the Lemba men? And here we go. This is really the answer to our question. They have a very, very high content of Semitic DNA, which is unlike the populations among whom they live, consistent with the idea of a migration from the Middle East. And more than that, they also have a surprisingly high incidence of the Kohen model haplotype, somewhere in the single digits for most Lemba, but among the Buba clan that was especially associated with leading the Lemba out of the Middle East, it's over 50%. Wow. Meaning that if we say that people who have the Cohen model haplotype are in fact Kohanim, which, you know, we don't have to say that at all, but many Kohanim have that same genetic feature. If we were to say that, then the Lemba might not be Jewish, but they are certainly descendants of Kohanim. Wow. So this should demonstrate that genetics is certainly not the same as
can we pause that real quick?
Lemba themselves, although they claim Jewish descent, they...
You only have like 40 seconds. Can we finish playing it? Then we can just...
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just for time, I'm sorry.
Participating in Christian life and in Muslim life and going to churches and mosques and things like that. But it does indicate that if you're one of those fans of bloodlines, the Lemba seem to have a paternal bloodline that connects them to the same people, the same man possibly, that provided the basis of many of today's Jewish Kohanim. Okay, I hope you found this fascinating. I know I did. And I look forward to speaking with you in further lectures. Thanks very much.
So, thank you. You go ahead and make a comment.
I just have a question to ask Elder. Elder, I was wondering, can you speak about the percentages that they first of all, I want to just ask you what sub-tribe are you? What sub-tribe are you of the Lemba?
And from the Buba.
Oh, just like you just said, right? Just like you just said, right?
Yeah.
So you're a Lemba elder of the Buba tribe, correct?
Yes.
So secondly, Elder, haven't they come down more than multiple times to take your blood samples? And didn't you tell me every time that they took samples, it starts in the double digits. It's not the single digits. It starts in the double digits and goes all the way up to 70 or 80%. And do I have that correct? Can you?
That's very true. You are very correct. You are very correct, Brother Jano. You are very correct. Actually, the first time they took the DNA, that was 2 dopapits. That was in 1984, I think, 84, 85. The percentage was 26%. So they thought maybe they were wrong. Maybe something was wrong with their machinery. They took another test, then it went to 45%. So Jenkins, I think he's from the UK, also took said, no, let me do it from UK, from Britain. Then it went to 56%. Then Israel said, no, let's not depend on what the results of these other nations. Let's do it according to the Israelite specifications. And it came to 70%. It keeps on going up. Now they have stopped. They are now afraid of carrying out another test. They are now scared. Well, it keeps on going up. It's not going down. It's not canceling anything, but it's going up.
And ladies and gentlemen, what he's saying is, let me explain for the kids, and maybe he's elder. He looks young, but he's an older gentleman. He's saying that every time that these people come, he's seen, talked, and acknowledged. And if not that, somebody else in the Buba tribe, tribe, I think I'm saying it right, they're all in the knowledge. This is not secondhand. This is not, he's seen these people, and the Lemba meet up and have gatherings once a year. So all this, one person can't just, what I'm just trying to explain to you is that Elder is the tribe that this gentleman's talking about. What I'm trying to tell you is it didn't start in the single digits, it started in the double digits. And lastly, we have an actual elder, which is, friend, family, Elder Hamandishe. And I just want to say that on the tail end of that, because he's always, if you notice that we're always correct him about percentages, we're correct him about times and everything. And I just wanted to just say praise the Lord that for you, Elder, and that you're able to be on this video. And also, yeah, sure, thanks for just putting everything together. And I'm excited about this interview and how it went. So that's all I got, guys.
And one thing to say as well is that, African Americans, we do a genealogy workshop as well. So we, no cost we don't try to get any cost. We allow African Americans to get their DNA tests at a lower price than some of the, going do it yourself. And then we also connect people to put it in the DNA, upload it to the DNA where FBI and stuff looks at DNA. And they basically match a lot of African Americans. They say one of the closest tribe, if not the closest tribe, is the LEMBA tribe to us. So not West Africa, but to LEMBA tribe. So a lot of the tests, a lot of our African American DNA connects to the LEMBA tribe, the closest, which is very interesting, right? What does that mean with history? Because it shows other African tribes, but LEMBA is first. So, there's some history there that's being lost or not being told to us. And if you look throughout history, which we can do from another video, we got some other people that might come and help speak to about what happened before the slave trade. But a lot of those people who will know that were connected to Israel were transformed or pushed into West Africa. And some of the people that came from West Africa actually came from some of those tribes that, from the northern tribes. So, going back to our first video where Elder talked about the ingathering, is you can see how all this is happening now, right? That Yah is pushing us either by force or by choice. So it's better to do it by choice because, he does it by force. It usually doesn't go too comfortably for us. So, thank you for y'all having your time. And thank you, DeAndre, for basically, bringing us together, being able to coordinate the schedules and, all the stuff that you do. And I know we're going to have even more. Thank you, Kohen Hamandishe, as well, for, just your prevalence and how you continue to push forward and making sure that you make yourself available all around the world for people. I thank you for, what you've done for me, even personally, the prayers and everything else. You're touchable, and that makes it even more, even better. So I think, if you have any going away ending statements, we can end on that note. And if you can pray us out as well. Is that all right, DeAndre, as well? I want to
Yeah.
Okay. If you just have any closing statements, Elder, and if you would pray us out, I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I would like to just say thank you very much for this interview, for this discussion we had. It's very helpful, especially to our young generation, our children. We might not know the impact, as I said earlier on, of what it is having to our youngsters, but it has got a very positive impact on them. And we don't want to make the same mistakes which our forefathers did. They never left any written records. They never recorded anything about their travelings, about their journeys, about what they faced. They wrote about the Holocaust. And they think that it's the biggest thing that has ever happened on earth. Yet we pass through those. It's a minor thing if you compare about the people who were thrown in the oceans and were eaten by sharks. It's horrible. It's horrible. And we want to put everything on record. It's only that we are limited by finance, but let's encourage our boys, our girls, our youngsters to record everything. And if it is possible, we can have this type of, because we are not competing with anyone, and we are not correcting with anyone, but we are just trying to put across the truth.
Yeah.
We are not trying to quarrel with anyone or to go into an argument with anyone, but we're just putting up the cross, as they put across the truth using the Bible. That's what we're doing. We're using the Bible. If someone wants to argue with us, then let him argue with the Bible. We're having the time to argue with anyone, but we'll be using the verses from the Bible. And I was suggesting that if it is possible, if you can also bring up there's a certain video which Shapira, it's a Shapira, Rabbi Shapira.
Yes, sir.
There's a second,
Yes, sir.
yes, there's one video which I was there. Maybe you can bring it up, then we discuss the way we have done this one.
Okay.
Yeah, if it is
We can do that. Yeah,
Yes, we can do
that.
another one. Bring some of the stuff he said. He says a lot about African Americans, African, Lemba, Igbo. He's going all around the place. So, yes, sir.
Exactly. But he's saying these things without any challenge, and there's no one who's it says if what he's saying is true. You see, no one is challenging what he's saying. No one is coming across with the truth. It's as if we are in agreement with what he's saying. Is that true?
Yeah.
So I was thinking that maybe if when I get back to Zimbabwe, I think I'm going to Zimbabwe very, very soon. We'll start working on that.
Yes, sir. That would be good. Yes. If you send us any of those, we'll take a look at them as well and prepare them. So, we'll take those little sections and make it even directly to what you want to address as well, because it's important. We thank you for it.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So you want me to say a prayer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Let's pray. Father, in the name of Yeshua Mashiach, we come before you this evening here in Zimbabwe. And I don't know what time when our friends, wherever they are in America, you have brought us together because of your suffering on the stick, on the cross. We thank you, Father, as we are going towards unifying our people through your word, awakening our people through your word. Father, give us the wisdom, give us this energy, give us the time to do this work. It's something which you always regret, that my people are perishing for lack of knowledge. We don't want to perish because of lack of knowledge, Father. We want to know your will so that we can win your favor in our lives. May these videos touch the lives of that lady somewhere, that man somewhere, that family somewhere, that boy somewhere, that girl somewhere. Can it touch his life and bring him to the reality of knowing who he is? We are not guests, but we are blessed. You love us. That's why we are here today. It's because of your love for us. And we know that you know us. You know us. And we are so happy about that. We don't ask for any endorsement from anyone to belong to you. And we don't ask for anyone to accept us. We only ask you, Father, to accept us and teach us your ways, and teach us the way of our forefathers. Father, we thank you. Because right now we are confused. We don't know whether what we are going through is a case or maybe it's ignorance. We don't know. But the only answer can come from you. And we are pleading with you, Father, this afternoon to be with us and keep on teaching us. Again, help us with all the resources. Help us, help the time, help us, help the energy. Restore our lives, restore our health again. In the mighty name of Yeshua, I pray. Amen.